Rain hammered the windshield so hard it sounded like gravel. Ethan Cole tightened, both hands around the steering wheel of his aging pickup, and glanced at the clock on the dashboard. 9:47 p.m. Too late again. In the back seat, his 8-year-old daughter slept curled beneath an old yellow blanket, her small sneakers still on because she'd been too tired to take them off after basketball practice. One of her braids had come loose, hanging across her cheek. Ethan swallowed the knot in his throat. He hated nights like this. Long shifts at the garage, barely enough money for rent, too exhausted to cook anything except boxed macaroni. And worst of all, the constant feeling that no matter how hard he worked, he was always one disaster away from losing everything. Then he saw the flashing hazard lights. A black luxury sedan sat crooked on the shoulder of the empty highway, steam curling from beneath the hood. Most cars flew past without slowing. Ethan almost did too. Almost. But his father's voice still lived in his head even after 10 years in the ground. If someone's stranded, you stop. Ethan sighed softly, flipped on his blinker, and pulled over behind the car. The rain hit him instantly as he stepped out. The woman standing beside the sedan looked furious, soaked and completely out of patience. She held a phone to her ear, pacing in heels that were sinking into wet gravel. "Yes, I know there's no signal," she snapped before ending the call. Then she turned toward Ethan. For a second, neither of them moved. The world seemed to go strangely still beneath the rain. Because Ethan knew that face, older now, sharper somehow, more polished, but unmistakable. Claire Bennett, his first love. The woman who had once planned a future with him in a tiny apartment over a laundromat. The woman who disappeared from his life 14 years ago. Her eyes widened in shock. "Ethan!" Hearing his name in her voice again felt like someone reaching into his chest and squeezing his heart. "Hey, Claire!" She stared at him as though she couldn't believe he was real. "Oh, my God." He forced a small smile. "Looks like your car's having a rough night." For a moment, neither mentioned the years between them. Then Claire looked down at her soaked designer coat and gave a disbelieving laugh. Apparently so. Ethan walked toward the steaming hood. "Mind if I take a look? You still fix everything?" "Mostly old trucks and bad decisions." That made her laugh harder than he expected. And suddenly they weren't strangers anymore. Just two people standing in the rain with too much history between them. He opened the hood carefully. "Radiator hose blew," he said after a moment. "You're not driving this tonight." Claire sighed. "Perfect. You got somebody coming?" "My assistant tried calling roadside service, but there's no reception out here." Ethan glanced toward his truck. "I can drive you somewhere safe." She hesitated. Then her eyes drifted toward the sleeping little girl in the back seat. "You have a daughter?" His entire expression softened instantly. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's Lily." Claire walked closer to the truck window, careful not to wake her. The little girl looked peaceful despite the storm outside. "She's beautiful." "Thanks." Claire looked back at Ethan. "How old?" 8. There was something painful in her eyes when she nodded. Wow. He didn't ask about her life because he already knew. Everybody knew Claire Bennett, CEO of Bennett Tech Holdings, Forbes interviews, magazine covers, billion-dollar deals. Meanwhile, Ethan lived in a 2-bedroom apartment over a tire shop. Funny how life worked. Claire wrapped her arms against the cold. "I was heading back from a conference in Nashville. Alone? My driver went home sick. I thought I could manage one drive myself. Guess money doesn't protect people from busted hoses." That earned another smile. And there it was again. That feeling he remembered from years ago. Claire always smiled with her whole heart. Even now. Ethan drove her to the only motel within 20 miles. Because the storm had worsened too. Badly for longer travel. The neon vacancy sign buzzed overhead as they hurried inside. The clerk barely looked up. "1 room left." Claire reached for her purse. Ethan quietly handed over cash first. She frowned immediately. "Ethan!" "It's fine." "No, it isn't. It's one night." "But you—" "I said it's fine." The firmness in his voice silenced her. Not pride, just dignity. Claire remembered that about him too. Even back when he had nothing, Ethan never let anyone carry his burdens. Inside the motel room, Lily finally woke up groggily. "Daddy?" "Hey, Bug." She rubbed her eyes, then noticed Claire standing near the door. "Oh, Claire smiled gently. Hi, Lily whispered loudly. She looks rich. Ethan nearly choked. Claire burst out laughing so suddenly she had to cover her mouth. I like her already, she said. Over vending machine coffee and microwave popcorn, the conversation slowly unfolded. Piece by piece, year by year, Claire admitted her father had forced her to leave town after college when Ethan couldn't afford law school anymore, following his mother's illness. He told me loving you would ruin my future, she said softly. Ethan stared at the floor. He threatened to cut me off completely. You should have told me. I wanted to, she whispered. But I was 22 and scared and stupid. He nodded slowly because the truth was he'd spent years angry, years believing she abandoned him willingly. Meanwhile, Claire confessed she'd searched for him later, only to learn he'd married someone else. Ethan's face darkened slightly. Sarah died when Lily was 2. Claire's breath caught. Oh my God, Ethan. I didn't know. Cancer. The room fell silent except for rain tapping against the windows. Claire looked at him then, not at the worn hoodie or tired eyes or exhausted posture. She looked at the man she once loved more than anything. And suddenly she saw all the hidden weight he carried alone every day. The next morning, Ethan woke before sunrise to leave for work. But when he stepped outside the motel room, he froze. Claire stood near his truck speaking quietly with Lily, who held a giant hot chocolate almost as big as her face. She says you skip breakfast sometimes, Claire said. Lily nodded seriously. He lies about eating. Lily. What, you do? Claire's expression changed. Not pity, something deeper. Understanding. On the drive back into town, Ethan dropped Claire at her luxury hotel downtown where a replacement car waited. Before getting out, she turned toward him. Have dinner with me tonight. Ethan hesitated. Claire, please. He looked at Lily in the rearview mirror. His daughter grinned. Say yes, Daddy, she's fancy. That night changed everything. Then another dinner followed. Then another. Claire started showing up at Lily's basketball games wearing business suits worth more than Ethan's monthly rent. She brought snacks for the whole team. She sat beside exhausted single moms in metal bleachers without acting superior once. And Lily adored her. One evening, Ethan finally asked the question sitting between them for weeks. Why are you doing this? Claire looked confused. Doing what? You could be anywhere in the world. Instead of answering immediately, she stepped closer. Because for 14 years, she said quietly, I've had every luxury imaginable. Her eyes glistened. And none of it made me feel the way sitting beside you does. Ethan's chest tightened painfully. I loved you once, she whispered. He shook his head slowly. No, Claire. A tear slid down her cheek. I never stopped. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he pulled her into his arms. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt something he thought life had taken from him forever. Hope. 6 months later, Ethan stood in the kitchen of a small house. Claire had helped him buy, not as charity, but as a partnership. A home with a swing set in the yard, a garage big enough for his own repair business, and laughter in rooms that had once felt empty. Lily ran through the hallway wearing mismatched socks. Dad! Claire burned the pancakes again! Claire pointed from the stove. I'm a CEO, not a chef. You almost burned water yesterday, Ethan said. Rude. Lily giggled uncontrollably. And Ethan looked around quietly, overwhelmed by how quickly life could change. Not because of money, not because of luck, but because one tired single father stopped on a rainy highway when someone needed help, and because kindness has a strange way of bringing lost hearts home.